for me, my friend. If I am blank enough, I will get the love that I've been longing for. What comes up for you? Is it attractive enough? Is it if you're agreeable enough, easy enough, smart enough, sexy enough, right? If you're like most women, this is the story that we've internalized, right? That if we become desirable enough in some way, we will be chosen, we will be loved, we will finally be enough. And that's not because we're vain. It is because we have been taught in 1,000 quiet ways that love is a reward for our performance, for our enoughness, for how we give or who we be that is the right way. But we know that's bullshit, don't we? Today, we're diving into the myth of the desirable woman, and we are going to dismantle it. Welcome, dear one, to another Catalyst conversation for a relationship revolution. Here, we challenge the unquestioned assumptions about love, life, and leadership, disrupting the patterns that have been keeping us stuck and revealing the truths that no one's taught you. Here, we activate new ways of leading our relationships consciously, courageously, differently, and dare I say, better, so that you can have the kind of relationships that most people only dream of. I'm so glad that you're here. You ready? Let's get into it. So this month, we are inside our May Myth series. And if you're like just joining us, our May Myth series is about dismantling the cultural, generational, relational stories that we've been handed as truth about what love should look like, about how relationships should work, about what women should want and what partnership means. Stories that we absorbed so early and so completely that most of us never questioned them. We just tried to live up to them. And so each episode this month takes one myth apart, names what it's costing us, and offers us a liberating alternative, a new story that women can actually build a life on. Today's myth is one of the oldest, most pervasive, and quietly damaging ones that we carry. It has been embedded in fairy tales, in rom-coms, in the way our mothers taught us to present ourselves, right? In every piece of dating advice pretty much that's ever been written. It's the myth of the desirable woman. And the guest that I've got coming in today to speak to us, she knows this deeply, and she is going to open up a pathway of liberation, my friends, because that myth that we need to be desirable to have what we desire is costing us more than we know. Before I go any further, I want to take a moment to introduce myself for those of you who may be new to me or this work. My name is Dr. Jeni Wallach. I am an award-winning relationship mentor, speaker, author, intuitive guide, and I'm a relationship revolutionary. My mission is to revolutionize how we think about and go about our relationships and to redefine what it means to love so that we may all experience the true power and possibilities that our relationships have to offer. Because nothing, truly nothing, impacts the quality of our lives more than the quality of our relationships. And we are in relationships all the time, in every corner of our lives, right? They are the infrastructure of everything we build our lives upon. But most of us have never been taught how to do them well, let alone how to lead them when things get hard, challenging, right? So this is what I am here to do. This revolution is about creating a global healing through love, a return from separation into wholeness, a paradigm shift in the way humanity relates, loves, and leads, and starting at the most intimate levels, okay? These catalyst conversations, the goal isn't just to give you insight or new ideas. It is to wake something up within you, love, so that you may be part of this revolution too. Now, Let me tell you about my guest. My guest today is one of those rare thinkers who brings philosophy out of the academy and straight into the heart, into the places where love actually lives. Gianna Yazana is a philosophy-based relationship coach and a writer with a master's degree in philosophy. Her work challenges the mainstream narratives about love, dating, and desirability, drawing on thinkers like Socrates, Carl Jung, Eric Fromm, and the ancient myth of Psyche to help people release the exhausting performance of love and reclaim genuine presence in its place. She is the exact conversation partner that this episode has been waiting for. And I am so glad that you are here. Gianna, welcome to the Catalyst Conversations for a Relationship Revolution.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. So thankful, Jeni.
Yes, this is such an important conversation. And I, when I first encountered your work, I knew immediately that you are the voice of this myth, the myth of the desirable woman, that deeply embedded belief that if we become enough of something, we will finally be chosen.
Chosen.
So I want to start by asking, like, why is this particular myth so dangerous for us? And why does it seem to hit hardest for women who've already done so much work on themselves?
So, my premise, my starting point is that I see that we believe that relationships work in the same way our society does. We live in a capitalistic society. We live in a society where everything has got a price, and to
Yeah.
get to that thing, you have to pay the price.
Mhm.
So if you want something of a certain value, you pay certain money, you get it back. We
Sure.
think relationship work the same way. If I want a certain type of relationship, I have to have a certain value. However, it is true we
Mm.
need to have a value, but we need to have a value as human beings. We'll get to that. But unfortunately, we shift the conversation into we have to have like a kind of like economical value. If
Mm.
I'm more beautiful, if I'm more composed, if I'm more well spoken, then I have certain assets that other people will want. And if I perform that way, they will want to acquire that value. So
Sure.
I put myself into the dating scene as if I were an object that someone else had to acquire. And it is very dangerous because people are not object to acquire. People are souls,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah. And for women especially, I think, we are already so seen it culturally as objects of desire, particularly to men.
Absolutely. For women, it's even more.
Mhm.
Society, we have been socialized basically our whole lives to believe that our main goal is to go out into the world and perform in a certain way so that a man will choose us.
Yep.
And we are told things like, but if you're a better homemaker, they will
Mm.
choose you.
Mhm.
But if you are a better mother, they will choose you. So you need to have these attributes that are universally wanted by men. And if you don't have them because you are different, then
Mhm.
you don't present that value that they will want to acquire. Therefore, something is missing with you. Therefore, they will not choose you. So your value as a human is less. It's
Yeah.
an external validation, as if we had to get our value as human beings from who chooses us for what reasons.
Mhm. Yeah, and I wanna circle back to this idea of external validation, but before we go there, like, can you say more about how this affects us? Like, if our value is based on how desirable we are to someone else, right? How prized we are in the economy of relationships or the expectations of what it means to be a good wife, like, how does that hurt us as women?
What happens to us, and I have experienced this personally, what happens
As
to
most of
us,
us do.
most of us do. This
Mhm.
is where I thought this is not going to work out. Because what I realized is that when we see ourselves as an object to be chosen, we then try to perform a certain way that will meet those criteria that will make us be chosen. So we go into the dating world, we go into relationships, not as our authentic self,
Right.
but as a persona. Because and the societal myths change all the times. If you listen to mainstream dating advice, what do you hear? People always want what they can't have. So you adapt, because if people always want what you can't have, what you're gonna do? Well, you have to be aloof to make someone want you. That's the value you're presenting. And if men only want one thing, then what you do? Oh, you have to make them wait, because otherwise they will take you for granted. So you try to adapt to all these rules that you hear, but these rules are random. They're not based on people's true values. They are based on what society thinks a good performance of a good partner is, and they will never be universal, because there's never going to be a universal rule that covers every single situation.
Right.
So we adjust, we try, we perform, and we're not in our presence. When we meet someone, we're not experiencing the real connection with that person. We're not bringing them a real, vulnerable, true self. We're bringing them what we think they will want, and they will do the same to us. And that connection will never go to a deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that this is a big part of why after the honeymoon phase of relationships, a lot of people hit like a wall of, oh wait, because then you start seeing who that real person is. The performance shifts a bit, and all of a
Exactly.
sudden you're like, oh wait, why are you different now?
Exactly. So that fake it till you make it, or those rules that tell you, well, at the beginning you can't show them that you care too much. All these rules that you have to adhere to, so you're choosable. But if that is not your real self, how long is it gonna take for your real self to reveal itself?
Right.
And when your real self reveal itself, what's gonna happen? You're not going to find the same connection. That that person will not find themselves with the person they thought they had. It was a different person.
Right. Yeah.
And also you chose someone because you thought they liked who you were performing to be. But did they love who you actually are?
And I think that can create a lot of insecurities for
Of
people,
course.
because
Of
underneath
course.
we kind of know.
Of course. Because if I think someone likes me because I'm making them chase me, for example, when I stop making them chase me, will I start being in my head, oh, will they still like me? Will they still love me? And there is all these types of performances that are not, in the long term, as you said, after the honeymoon period, they will not hold. They will break down anyway. So why not go in straight away as who you are?
Yeah.
And understand straight away, is this something that's worth pursuing?
Yeah, I was just I'm thinking about actually an episode of Parks and Recreation that I saw recently. I don't know if you've watched that, but it's my first time watching that show. But and one of the characters um, has this pattern of every new boyfriend that she has, she like takes on his traits. Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so in that episode, she had like a box of like when she was with the hockey boyfriend, and when she was with the like grunge boyfriend, and when she was with the whatever, right? Like, uh, so she's like taking on the she's performing, right? Becoming desirable to that particular person, and none of them are actually who she is. And I think like a lot of us do that. I know I certainly had done that a lot in my past, especially when I was in the dating scene. And I want to name that the risk of not doing that is the fear of not being chosen, the fear of being lonely, the fear of being rejected. And And the reality is that in our cultures, the people that we want to have relationships with are probably indoctrinated into the same ideas or beliefs or stories about what a desirable woman is. And they may be operating from that narrative that
Yeah.
if you're not pretty enough, if you're not um, like playful enough, if you're not easy enough, if you're too high maintenance, if you're too emotional, and that's real. And
Yes.
also, we deserve better than that person. Like, that's not the person that, like, that you wanna be dating or getting into relationship with anyways. We need to raise our standards, I think, as women, for how we get to be treated, how we get to be chosen, what gets
What?
to be enough.
100%. I had this conversation not very long ago, actually, just coming to my mind. Um, Two very successful women that I know, they have it all. They have the career, they have the house, you name it, they have it all. Relationships, not so much.
Mhm,
So they travel a lot, they go to a lot of events, they have a super intense social life. At some point, the three of us are talking, and of both two of them say to me, you know what, I think maybe I should tone it down a bit, because when I'm always on holiday, when I'm always to events, men will think that I'm not ready to settle down.
mhm,
I said, I'm sorry, but that man who has that idea that if you go on a holiday, or if you go to an event, or if you go out with your friends, or if you have an intense social life, if he judges you for that, that's not the man you want to be with, regardless.
mhm.
And if you perform, as you know, the performance side of it, if you perform to give them what you think they will desire, what's going to happen to you in the long term? You're going to
Yeah,
be stuck in that relationship. What one day are you going to tell them that's not actually who I am?
mhm. Yeah, I have a client actually who I'm working with now who was in that very situation and had hidden parts of herself because they were undesirable to her boyfriend because they like he didn't think that a woman should be that way and he didn't think that a businesswoman should do this and her joy and time with friends made him feel insecure and so she would hide all of that from him and she was miserable.
Of course.
Right?
Of
And
course.
it wasn't until she started saying, "Actually, no, this is who I need to be. This is who I am. This is like, I want you you can't just pick and choose the parts of me that are good enough for you that you want me to be. I if we're gonna be in a relationship, I need to,
To
be loved
embrace.
for all of me, right? All of my authentic self." And he really struggled with that at first, and they had actually broke up. And she stayed in her power and sovereignty and authenticity and shone her light, she actually became more desirable to him, and then he circles back and he's like, "Actually, I wanna be with you and I wanna be with all of you." And all of a sudden the relationship had just, like, up leveled because it was like he redecided, re-chose her, not based on the performance, but based on the truth of who she is.
To me, that's the paradigm shift that needs to happen. We
That's it.
need to abandon the fear of not being chosen, and if we are
Yes.
authentic, and instead of asking ourselves, how can I make myself being chosen, we need to start asking ourselves, how can I become the person who can hold love? When we become that
Mm.
person, when we
Yes.
become love, love is going to find us. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to be chosen. Sometimes people tell me, you sound a bit out there. It's like law of attraction. There's no law of attraction. If we don't believe in law of attraction, we don't have to.
Mhm.
It is a reality. Love finds love. You know, like as you mentioned before, I use a lot of philosophy in my coaching, and this is something that I really love about this philosopher called Eric Fromm, who wrote a book called The Art of Loving, and he makes that shift. He says we got into love thinking love is an object separated from us, so we try to achieve it, we try to have it, but we don't need to try to have it, because love is not separate from us. We
Mhm.
are love. We become that love that we're searching, and once we become it, we have it.
Oh, I got
And that's
goosebumps.
your experience with your client. She became that love that she was searching,
That's
and the
right.
love found her.
That's right. That's exactly right, Gianna. And that, like, that is so powerful, so profound, so revolutionary. Like, this is the shit that we need to, like, not just hear, my friends, for those of you listening, like, don't, like, hear this and get this, yes, and become it, embody it, go deeper into it, because this is not easy to do. Maybe easy to get, like, I need to be love, sure, I need to be authentic. Okay, but what does that look like? And it's not easy. It takes a lot of courage. My client was terrified and heartbroken by the way her boyfriend initially reacted. And a
Of
lot of
course.
women, when they're in relationship especially, and they're entering this threshold of knowing, and I think a lot of times it happens in our mid to late 40s when we're starting perimenopause, and finally we're like, "Oh wait, I freaking matter and I deserve." And but there's, because we're changing the patterns, we're changing the rules of the game, and there is great risk in that. So if
Yes.
you're scared, if it feels scary or terrifying, or you don't know even who you are, that's okay. That's normal. And I think especially for women, over the course of time, we lose, because we've done so much of this performing, we lose connection with who
Yeah.
we are.
Yes. Yes. Yes, that's the main step. So I, in my website, I have a phrase that says "Know yourself to love
Mm,
better." Know
yes.
yourself. I got it from, obviously, like, one of main philosophers of history, Socrates, and then
Mhm.
I added my "to love better," because I think unless we really truly understand who we are at an authentic level,
Yeah.
we're always gonna go into the words trying, trying to be the person who thinks is gonna be chosen. Once we revert back to ourselves, and I was telling this today to my client, we had a
Mhm.
conversation. I said, right now, you don't need to go and look for another date. Right now, you need to revert back to yourself, because you're losing yourself in this process. And when
Mhm.
you lose yourself, there's no amount of dating or people you meet that will bring you the love you desire, because
Right.
this all starts here.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Yes. So, and there, I mean, there's so many things, so many different directions I want to go, but I want to pull us back into the idea of external validation, because I think
Yeah,
that this is really big for a lot of people,
yeah,
women possibly in particular because of the way patriarchy works,
yeah,
uh, but and people in general, men and non-binary folks also,
yeah.
and in the work that we do, learning how to, uh, let go of that need to be, like, in your power and sovereignty, to be love is an important piece of it. So can you talk a little bit more
Absolutely.
about, like, what do you exactly mean by external validation? How does that show up? And what does it look like to
Well,
not.
it shows up in, like, so many different ways, especially unconsciously for people. A lot of people don't understand that they are doing it, but they are doing it. And externally, it shows
Mhm,
up as things like, for example, always choosing emotionally unavailable people. Because,
mhm,
when I get that validation that the emotionally unavailable person chose me, it means that I've got something special, for example.
right,
Um, so these are external ways in how
mhm,
it shows up. Internally, though, we don't really fully understand it, but there is, like, very quiet belief that if we are single, especially at a certain age, there is something fundamentally unlovable about us,
mhm,
because we haven't been chosen, so we don't have that value that other people want, so we are
mhm,
left on the shelf. And we
mhm,
tell ourselves the story well, if nobody wants me, of course I don't have value.
Right.
So now we need the external validation to find it in someone else to make us feel that, yeah, you do have that value. Unfortunately, the catch 22 is that the more we look for the external validation, the more we push it away ourselves. So I always tell people it's counterintuitive, because you want the relationship, you want the love, you want the bond. But if you want it, I want to use the word desperately, but not in a bad way. Not, you know,
Right.
like if you're desperate. I want to use it, I want to say it in a way, if you feel that it's so lacking from your life, unfortunately, you push it even more away, because then you're not in touch for the person who is relaxed in a power, in her own self-value, in her trust that she is the person that can hold that love, give that love, receive that love. And if you don't have that trust that love is for you, it's so easy to lose sight of it and to look for it in ways that are just external validation.
Yeah. You know, the kind of metaphor that comes to my mind, I tend to be a visual thinker, is the idea of like your partner being in water with you, and their validation, their praise of you, their reflection of how great you are, how enough you are, their attention, their desire for you, right? Like all of that is like keeping you afloat. And the less that you can do that for yourself, keep yourself afloat, the more exhausting it is for them.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
That's a lot of work for your partner to have to convince you
that
that you
you
are enough.
matter, that you worth it, that you are enough. Well, you have to have it in yourself. So
Exactly.
the first step I always say, like, finding love is an inner journey. You have to find it in yourself first. I used to be one of these people. So when I talk about that, I'm not just talking about, I used to be
Not abstract. You've lived this.
I've lived this. So I used to be one of these people who, I had the education, and I was never chosen. And even my friends were like, oh, it's not possible, because, like, you're funny, you are kind, why do relationships don't work for you? And there was this mismatch between what I thought I was presenting to the world and the validation I was getting from romantic relationships, and I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense, rationally. So I stopped and thought, there must be something that I'm doing wrong. And then I realized I wasn't doing something wrong. I was being wrong. Being meaning that I was assigning too much importance, or who I was presenting, instead of who I was. So when I managed to go, hold on a second, I need, like, this is not who I am. This is my persona that I've been showing these people. So, and this is empowering, because up until then, I thought I wasn't being chosen because I wasn't enough. And then I realized, no, my persona wasn't enough. When I showed up as my authentic self was more than enough. It was that was not chosen. So that was very empowering, because it was like, actually, my authentic self gets love. It was my persona that didn't get that much love, because unauthentic, something that is not authentic is very difficult to love. And that, when I say a self reflection journey, I really love this metaphor. Like, I really love mythology and philosophy, and I use that to guide me. I thought, because this is what I love to do. I love to use ancient wisdom and say, we already have the answers. Someone before us wrote the book. Someone before us told us how to do this. Let's go and look for the answer. So I went into and looked, and I found the myth of Psyche and Eros, which I'm not going to bore everyone telling the whole myth, which is very long, but in very briefly, Psyche is a very beautiful woman, and she ends up falling in love with the god of love himself, Eros.
Mm.
But because of many events, Eros leaves her. And when he leaves her, she tries to catch him. She tries to hold on to his leg and not let him go,
Mhm.
but she can't stop him. She only finds him back after she goes on a long journey and she faces a lot of trials. And
Mm.
all these trials represent a lot of self-reflection and, trials that we all have to do in our lives. And then she found Eros, the god of love. So to me, that was like, I was like, oh, I understand now. I have to go on a journey first,
Mm.
and I cannot hold onto love so strongly because you will leave anyway. That was the metaphor.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's a beautiful story. And it's so true, right? That like that wisdom is out there. And it's interesting the way that time and culture distort things and change things. Yet if you know that this is the path that you want to go on, then the teachers, the books, the conversations like the one we're having right now, they'll open up for you. You don't have to know the way entirely from right here. You just have to take the next step. And you're at a greater level of consciousness and liberation now, just in the realization that I am enough. Even if not all of you who are listening, 100% believe that yet, if there's still a lot of resistance to it, that you're allowing that seed to be planted, and to consider like maybe I need to figure out what that looks like for me, or who I be when I am embodying my authenticity and enoughness. And that is going to change your freaking life. It's going to change your relationships. And if you're not in a relationship yet, it is going to position you to attract the kind of relationship that can fulfill you, that can lift you up, that holds the potential of the type of love and partnership that you've been dreaming of. Because anything else that we attract when we're not being our authentic selves, when we're trying to perform and trying to be something, is, as Gianna's been saying, like, is going to just attract someone who's maybe into that facade, and eventually that's going to crumble. Or if we're trying to keep that up for a lifetime, we're going to be
Oh
miserable.
no, we're gonna be miserable, and they will be miserable too anyway, because
Mhm.
but I think whether it even, I don't think is as you were saying, even if someone doesn't really feel it right now that they're enough, after all this work that I've done with myself and everything, self-growth is never ending. I don't think I'll ever get myself even to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm so enough. I
No.
don't
Me either.
I don't think so. I think I've been in a relationship now for 7 years, and it's a very healthy relationship and everything. But I think sometimes I still do and act in ways that are
Oh, yeah.
imbalanced, or and when we say that we become who we are and relationships look better, I want everyone to remember that it doesn't mean being perfect. There's always going to be times where we regret something we said, or we didn't act in the best possible ways, but we created such a safe, healthy space for ourselves that doesn't matter, because your partner will know that who your authentic self is. And if you slip, they will catch you. And that's the beauty of this shift, that you don't have to always be perfect, always say the right thing,
That's
always, but we're human, and we take each other as humans.
right. Yes, that's beautiful. I love that. So I've got one other question before we wrap up. You've offered the question of like, what state of being am I choosing and relating? Yeah. And this is such a powerful reframe. And I in the work that I do with clients as well, we talk a lot about our state of being. But I would love to hear from you, Gianna. Like, what does it actually look like to use this question? What do we do with that that wondering of like the state of being that we're choosing or relating from. Can you say more about that?
So the first thing I think is to learn to see love as something gorgeous and beautiful that is all around us, and
Mm,
not something that is missing from our lives.
mm,
If we see love as the one thing missing from our lives, something that creates pain, something that creates loneliness, which I understand it can feel like that. So
sure.
it's not to blame anyone, of course. If we want a relationship and we don't have it, it's going to be sad. But
Mhm.
when we manage to step out of it and start thinking, love is all around me. I have love from, I can see love in, this old couple who's walking down the street holding hands and get excited for that.
Mm,
We bring that state of love in us from everywhere in the world. And it's not just, something that we need to grab. It's
mhm.
something that we are in everywhere. We have love, and also we can't have, I believe, true authentic love if we don't have love for the world. I believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe we can live in a state of hate and resentment and frustration, which we all have. Me too. I get frustrated. No one is perfect. But I believe that if our main state is hatred,
Mhm,
that love will escape us. Or
mhm.
we can still attract relationships. Relationships and love is not the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep.
But, I think we need to become that love we're seeking for first of all, having love for ourselves and for the world. And when we say love yourself, it feels very difficult to grasp. I used to follow dating advice, and people would say you need to love yourself first. And
Yep.
what
Yep.
does it mean? Like, do
Exactly.
I take myself on a date? What does it mean?
Yes.
It's
Make
it's
this concrete for me.
is yeah, what do I have to do to love myself first? But I realized that love yourself first means acceptance. I
Mm,
think, it's just like, if you hate yourself, if you hate how you look, if you hate how you talk, if you hate, like who you are, why would someone else love that? you know
mhm.
so I think love is just like thinking, this is who I am. And I always tell people, talk to yourself as if you were talking to your best friend.
Mhm.
Because we would never tell our best friend the things we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
Like I would never tell my best friend, oh, you look horrible today. But
Mhm.
because I don't believe it, I don't see it. I always see her
Mhm.
as beautiful. In
Yes.
mind, she's always beautiful. But
Yeah.
me, I look at myself in the mirror. So I always think, pretend in the mirror is your best friend. Would you tell her she's horrible? No, maybe you would tell her, oh, why don't you fix your hair?
Mhm.
So start, and you are your best friend anyway.
Mhm. Yes.
So
Yes. I think that's a great way of like reframing the love yourself. It's like be your own best friend.
yes,
Like what would a best friend wouldn't be judgmental or critical or put you down or tell you, that you're not enough. Your best
you see,
friend would see you as the beautiful, perfect, wonderful, even though you're flawed and quirky and weird, but you're wonderful and she loves you. Like that energy, connect to
yes,
that
that
energy
energy,
and
that
be her for you. That's a really
exactly.
great way of practicing this self-love, practicing embodying the state of love so that you can be love and receive the love that
And
you do.
also always remind yourself, because we tend to focus on the things we lack and we don't have and we did
Mhm,
wrong. Remind yourself actively, or
mhm,
like today someone told me that I was very helpful. It's
mhm.
not being big headed. It's just, if someone told someone else that they were helpful, you would be happy for them. Do
Yeah,
it for you too. Do it for yourself too. Doesn't mean being selfish, just mean giving yourself the same grace you give others.
yeah, yeah, beautiful. So when someone really makes this shift, when someone gets this, stops the performance, stops just trying to be desirable, recognizes that she's enough, shows up authentically, uh, is love, like shows up in love from a place of being, what changes, what becomes possible for her? I want our listeners to like get a feel for what's waiting for them on the other side of this conversation.
Well, I want to say, first of all, whether you have your heart desire, like the person you receive right now, I promise doesn't matter anymore, because then it becomes like you don't think, I don't have it. You think, oh, he hasn't found me yet. So it becomes so natural for you. You start thinking, yeah, it's there, it's out there for me. Like, of course, it's
Mhm.
gonna find me. So you
Mhm.
don't suffer from lacking it anymore, and that's the most important thing, because now you're enjoying your days.
Mhm.
And then it is a reality. I've seen it times and times again that love does find you in whatever way shows up for you. You know, I'm not saying you get married, maybe you won't, I don't know. But whatever love ways to find you is for you, it will find you, because there is no way that you're so open to the world, so open to possibilities, so authentically yourself, so in tune with who you are and who others are. And you also become really receptive of other people's souls. You now see them. So
Yes.
now you see yourself for who you are. You see them
Mhm.
for you, who they are. Through all the things that society told you to look for, you
Mhm.
see another soul. And if these two souls mirror each other, because love doesn't complete, it mirrors.
Yes.
If these two souls mirror each other, there have to be two souls. If they're monogamous, three, four, I don't mind. But
Yeah. Yeah.
in whatever way it shows for
Thank you for that,
everyone.
right?
Yeah, no, in whatever way it shows for everyone differently.
That's right.
But when souls mirror each other, they need to get together.
Mhm. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful, Gianna. Oh, this is such a great conversation. I'm sure we could go deeper and longer, but we've already been talking for almost an hour. I have,
Yeah.
anyways. So before I let you go,
Yeah.
if you could leave our listeners with one core message, one thing you want them to hear and remember from our conversation today, what would that be?
I really would love for people to remember that they need to focus less on doing and more on being. What
Mm,
they do is not as important as who they are. Of
yeah.
course, what you do it in your actions is important, but when you are in tune with who you are, your action comes naturally. You don't need to overthink them.
Yes. That's beautiful. And that question, like how am I being? From what state of being am I relating? Um, that's definitely one that is gonna stick with me because it's such a profound and beautiful way to connect to the power of love as a state of being and unlocking its potential, like opening the door to receive what it is that we're really looking for and what it is we really deserve.
We can't want love and
Mhm.
not be the very same thing we want. It doesn't
That's
work
right.
like that.
That's right. Yeah. So before I put you backstage, tell people like where they can find you. And I know you've got a wonderful free gift for our listeners today. Can you share
Yeah.
a little bit about that too?
Yes, so my free gift is this journal that I created. It's 4 weeks a guided process to basically start understanding the process of being an embodiment.
Love it.
And each week, through gratitude, affirmation, and quotes, it takes people on a journey of self discovery to loving themselves, loving the world, loving love, especially.
Mm, mm, I love it.
And presence. And there is also a better explanation of the myth of Psyche that I was explaining before, to understand better what it means to not chase love, but to go on a self journey. So
Mm,
it's called the Love Reset Journal,
beautiful.
and it's on my website. Yes.
What a great resource. Y'all need to go check that out. I'm gonna be checking it out myself because it sounds like something we all should have available to us. And thank you so much, Gianna, for sharing it. I will make sure that the link to that is in the show notes. And where can people find you if they want your support in coming home to themselves, in being the love that they need or
So
desire?
I am on social media, Instagram and Facebook, as well as the Philosophical Love Coach.
Beautiful.
And also my website is called Philosophical Hearts. Or they can even email me, and my email is hello@philosophicalarts.com, and I'm very, very happy to reply to every single email I get personally.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Gianna. This conversation has been everything that I hoped it would be.
Oh, thank
Um,
you. I loved it too.
yes. Oh, good. Good. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and helping us to dismantle this myth of transactional love, of being desirable, of trying to get what we want by being enough, because it really is so pervasive. And to learn a new way, and one that is so like anchored in the truth of love, and the truth of ourselves, that we are love and therefore are enough, is just fucking beautiful and life changing. So love it. Love it. All right. Well, I'm going
Thank
to
you
put you
so much.
backstage while I wrap up the show. And y'all who are listening, get in touch with Gianna. Clearly she's amazing. She knows what she's doing. And if you're feeling your pull toward her, listen to that. And of course, if this episode meant something to you, if it touched a place inside your heart, and I can't imagine that it didn't, will you do something for us right now? Will you subscribe to the Relationship Revolutionary podcast wherever you listen to podcasts? Leave us a review. Share this episode with one woman who needs to hear it today. Because your word of mouth, your comments, that's what gets this conversation into rooms that Gianna and I wouldn't be able to get to without you. If you want to help me to activate and accelerate this global movement of revolutionizing relationships, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share about the work that we're doing in Powerful Love. Attend our events. And of course, do your part to lead with love in all of your relationships. If you're looking for support for yourself, please reach out to me. There are numerous ways that my partner Calvin and I could support you. And I want to tell you about two of them right now, very briefly. First is my Relationship Revolution community. This is a space where powerful women and the partners who love them come to learn how to lead their relationships differently, with truth, with courage, with support and accountability. It's a monthly membership that takes these conversations and moves them from the learning part here into the embodied next steps. How do we put this into practice? What does that look like for me in my relationship? And how can I do that? And we do this together and with lots of support. So you're not going to find anything else out there like this. If you are done trying to figure this out yourself and you want some support and guidance along the way, this is your place. It's $147 a month. You can cancel anytime if it's not meeting your needs. And I would love to see you there, because I think that it really will help you to revolutionize your relationship and make it better and better. The other thing that I wanted to share is my upcoming masterclass. So I am teaching a new masterclass. Well, it's not that new now, but I've got a masterclass called From Frustrated to Fulfilled: How to Get the Love You Get the Love You Deserve. How to get your partner to finally start showing up the way you've been asking without burning out to make it happen. It's a long title, yes, but every word counts. And because it tells you exactly what it is that we're going to be learning about, and knowing how to do in that masterclass. I'm going to be running this every other week on Tuesdays most of the time. This is part of my mission to help transform at least 1 million women's lives by bringing you back into your power and uh, and creating greater ease and getting more of what you want, so you're not draining yourself, exhausting yourself, or spinning your wheels trying to do it. So if you want to learn those secrets, come to my free masterclass. The link to register is in the show notes. That's all I have for you today, my loves. I will see you next week for another Catalyst conversation. We are starting a new theme. We're entering the month of June, Pride Month. So we're talking proud love is the theme. And I am going to be featuring the voices and stories of folks in the LGBTQ community. So if that's you and that's your interest and you want to support and learn and be activated and shifted by folks in our community who are getting it and doing it differently and living the revolution, show up for those. There's a new episode of our podcast every single Friday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific. Until then, my friends, keep leading with love.